Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs and me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. Smile on the face? Well, because our unbeaten run in the Premier League continues. The 2-1 win over Sheffield United, which, keeps the form going, keeps the fans happy, and we did it in a different way. Dramatic it was all at the end. I watched the game. I would have posted a video afterwards, but however, I was actually out for dinner. So it's my birthday coming up on Wednesday the 20th, and my girlfriend's actually away at a wedding for that, so she decided to take me out for dinner. We had a lovely time. I had a nice Italian mixed grill, good bit of steak, some lamb, a Italian spicy sausage, pinwheel, and some chicken with some chips. Why not? And a lovely bottle of red to go with it. So we had a nice time. Then I tried to do the video this morning, and that didn't work because the phone overheated and wouldn't let me continue it. So doing it at night. So we're talking about the 2-1 victory in the Premier League at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah, very dramatic from us. We left it till very late. In the first half, I would say that you have to credit Sheffield United for their defensive work. I think, in their attack and the midfield, we found those areas quite easy to break down and get through the lines. But defensively, and Ange, Postecoglou said it himself, they defended their box really well. They put their bodies on the line. They blocked a lot of shots. They were making last-ditch tackles. Their goalkeeper, Fotheringham, I thought was very good in the first half, apart from the mad moment where he came out and handled the ball outside his area. But, he did what he had to do in that moment. Plenty of time wasting by them, which was frustrating the Spurs fans. And there was a few bookings because of it. There was a lot of bookings in this game, actually. Like if we just have a little look on the stats list, we actually received more yellow cards than them to different players. There were 6 yellow cards for our players, and there was 5 yellow cards for theirs, which was technically 6 because a second yellow card went to McBurney, so he was sent off. So they had 5 yellow cards and 1 red card. But looking down at the rest of the stats, whilst we're on it, possession-wise, we still dominated the game, 70.1% possession. This is going to be a theme that we see all the way through the season. The formation we play very much depends on it, and the tactics we use. We had a total of 28 shots on goal. They had 7. Only 10 of ours, however, were on target. 5 of theirs were. 9 of ours were off target. 1 of theirs was off. And they blocked 9 of our shots. So that just kind of tells you how hard they were working. So with 9 being off target and 9 of them blocked of the 28. So that's 18 shots there that, half of the ones that we didn't get on target were because they were blocked. So they were throwing themselves about. Our pass completion rate, 87.9%. They had a low 68.8%, and I think that's to do with our tactics and formation as well. So, like we did under Poch, we're pressing from the front, and when you press from the front, you create more pressure on defenders who are not known to be the best passers in the team. Your best passers are usually your midfielders. So if you start pressuring at the front, they panic, they have to go long, which then means we can cut it out with headers, or they're just forced into making passes they wouldn't normally make. That, again, I think is going to be a running theme this season. We had 3 clear-cut chances to their 1, 15 corners we had, 2 offsides, 41.2% of our tackles were won, which could be better. They won 45.5%. Aerial duels, this is something that's interesting because we tended to be on the higher percentage under Conte and Mourinho, and this is something that has slipped a little bit. 42.1% of aerial duels won, which meant they come out on top with 57.9. However, they are a team that has come up from the Championship, and you tend to find that in those kinds of leagues, although you have some technical players, you tend to find they're a little bit bigger. Defenders definitely bigger because it's less of a technical league. Still a very good league, the Championship, don't get me wrong. It's one of the most difficult leagues to get out of. Looking at saves, Vicario only had to make 4 to Fotheringham's 8. We committed 13 fouls. Looking at that, the stats, the majority of them read quite well. I do think we need to start winning more of our aerial duels and tackles as well. But the rest of it, possession, the amount of shots we're having, it's all really good signs. It's just progressing each game. And another stat of a player that we need to talk about, Kulusevski. If you didn't know, before the game, it had been released that he actually has covered more ground than any other Premier League player. And whilst myself, I've actually felt that he's still not playing the best football he can, because he was amazing when he first started for us, he's still contributed. He's been scoring, he's been getting assists. But there's just his overall gameplay, he just doesn't seem as dangerous as he once was. But he's still very much doing his role and working hard for the team, which Postecoglou loves. You will see a theme of that. Certain players that work really hard are the ones getting credited, like Pat Matasai does a lot of running and a lot of the dog work that people don't like to do. So, yeah, second half I felt like, we were still playing okay football. And it was almost like we were trying to force it, because we've scored quite a few goals so far. Sonny obviously got a hat-trick in the game where he started up front for the first time this season. I feel like maybe they thought it was going to come a bit easier, especially against a team like Sheffield United. But actually, it was the complete opposite. They pretty much sat in a low block, which made it difficult. And as you know, many teams that we've come up against in the past to set up in a low block to make it difficult, and they have to be the team to counter. Almost like what we were doing under Conte. We weren't quite doing a low block, but we were very much the defensive team, and then we'd have to spring on the other teams. And it's very frustrating when teams do that, because they get loads of men behind the ball very quickly. They can sit quite deep. They don't leave you a lot of space in between the defender and the goalkeeper to break into. So it either has to be a wonder goal or has to be very intricate, perfectly timed things. But credit to them, they defended well. They haven't really been out of any of their games. I know there's talk of Heckenbottom maybe being replaced, and I think Wilder is someone they're looking at. However, I would urge them to stick by their manager, because I think he's done a good job. And the fact that they're still in games, even against Manchester City, it says it all. It's not like they're getting smashed here. I mean, eventually they have to put some points on the board, but from what I saw, they were in the game the whole way through. There wasn't a moment where they really weren't. We just kind of ran riot towards the end of the game. Who did I think was good for them other than Fotheringham? Robinson at the back. I thought he did very well. He was very committed in everything that he did. He actually got the assist for them as well. So yeah, looking at our lineup, Vicario in goal, Porro and Udogie left and right back, Romero and Mickey van der Ven continuing their partnership with the midfield trio of Saar, Bazuma and Maddison, and then the front three of Kulusevski, Solomon and Sonny. Solomon was the surprise inclusion, but yeah, I kind of get it. We need to see a bit more of him. He's bright at times. I think consistency is probably the thing with Solomon. I can't really say consistency for us because we've only just had him, but even when he was at Fulham, consistency is the thing that he needed to work on. Then on the bench we had Oliver Skipp, Højbjerg, Richarlison, Royale, Perisic, Dyer included for the first time this season, Fraser Forster, Brennan Johnson and Ben Davies. So let's talk a little bit about the players throughout the game. So Vicario, he made a decent stop with his foot. The flag eventually went up for offside soon after, but it was a very good reaction save at a key moment in the game. He couldn't really see Hamer's shot, that came through the cluster of legs and was right inside the post. Plenty of good distribution and quite quick as well. I think this is something that I've been quite impressed with. He didn't really have to do that at his previous club. So we weren't sure if he was going to be any good at it, but I'm actually quite impressed with what I've seen from him so far. He's been very good with his distribution. He's quite quick thinking. So yeah, really impressed. Long may it continue. Then Pedro Porro worked really hard up and down the right flank, whipped some crosses in, but wasn't able to find a way through. I think the thing that I'm quite frustrated with at the moment is in training, if you've watched any of the videos that they put up, I know a lot of people don't, but you get an idea of things that they're working on, and Ange likes to he likes to have the low balls whipped into the box, kind of along the floor or waist height and below. It makes it difficult for defenders because traditionally they're great with their heads and not their feet. It makes the keeper have to make a decision as to whether he's going to come out and dive down for it. Puts people in an awkward position. You quite often will win a lot of corners from those situations, and it's just not something we've been doing enough, especially when you've got Sonny up top instead of Richarlison. Richarlison is, I'd say, better in the air. Not necessarily, I know he scored a goal from a header, but I would say he gets to the ball more than Sonny would in the air. So when Sonny's leading the line, you need to be whipping those balls along the floor. Romero in the centre, dominant for much of the game. He did mistime his jump for Sheffield United's goal, but apart from that, pretty solid performance. Van de Ven, really good at the back once again. Very little got past the Dutchman. Did pick up a yellow card for that late collision with Fotheringham in the box. VAR actually reviewed it to see if it was full-on dangerous play. Was taken off as well in the game. Udogie, not quite as effective as he has been recently, but however, still a good presence down the left. And it was actually the battling that he put in that won the ball back for our winning goal. So, yeah, I mean, you can't expect him to be incredible every single game. He's a young player. It's a brand new league for him. But, I mean, what an impact he's made so far. What a great purchase that was. Moving on to the midfield, Pat Matassar. He had the first effort of the game. It was a pretty tame low shot from outside the box that Fotheringham held easily. Some nice touches from then on, but without too much impact. And I think they actually defended Sarr quite well. What they did, instead of allowing him to break past people, I don't know if they did this on purpose or it just happened to be where they were positioned, Sheffield United, but it seemed like players stood off him quite a lot and gave him the space to drive into rather than driving past people. So he would drive for a little while and then he would meet a wall of players and have to make a decision. So I don't know whether that was a tactical thing or it just happened that way, but yeah. Bazuma, he went on this lovely run after the 15-minute mark only to be denied by the keeper down low. It almost looked like at first that he'd taken too much of a heavy touch in the box, but it was very much intentional into a little bit of space. He got better and better as the game wore on, was pretty much the guy that drove us through the midfield. And then Maddison was tasked with being our creator once again. A couple of efforts at goal in the first half, and he kept trying to push the team forward in added time despite looking absolutely shattered. He's played a lot of football for us. Obviously went away on international duty with England and probably worked himself harder than he should have because he's trying to stake a starting place in the England team. I think he had a classic case of over-hitting the ball in this game. And it was, many people did. The ball was just slightly 2-3 yards in front of where it should have been. It was almost like we couldn't quite get our rhythm, and I think they were just trying a little bit too hard to force it because it wasn't coming quite naturally because of how Sheffield United were defending. Moving on to the front three, Kulusevski once again did loads and loads of running. He didn't stop throughout the game. Tried to make things happen. He got his reward in the end because he got the winning goal, and he took it really well actually. He had to ghost past a player in the box, and I mean, I thought he was going to shoot the same way the keeper thought he was going to shoot, into the right, but he didn't. He decided to use the body of the defender and shoot back across himself into the left. Very good finish. Sonny through the middle. He sent an okay curling shot that was palmed by Fotheringham on about the 20-minute mark. It just didn't have enough power on it, I think, and it was too predictable that it was going to happen. But he did the right thing. He tried to make it dip in front of the goalkeeper as one of those awkward bounces. Worked away in the central role, couldn't really find a way through before coming off with 10 minutes before the end. An okay performance from him. Solomon was lively in the first half, sent a couple of shots over the bar in the second, but it just waned his performance. It went down, and maybe that's due to a little bit of match sharpness because he's not been starting games, but he was quite tricky at times. I can see, on a free transfer, why he was absolutely fine to pick up. I do think he'll get better. He does need more game time, though. Then moving on to the masterstroke of the game, the three substitutes that came on at the same time, new signing Johnson, the reliable Ivan Perisic, and Richarlison. So Brennan Johnson caused some problems with the pace and movement, gave Sheffield United something else to think about. had an effort ruled out for offside. I'm quite excited to see what he's going to bring when he fully develops in and buys into Ange Postecoglou's ways. Obviously, he's not really worked with the team much because he was away on international duty. Perisic, we know exactly what he's about. He comes on with not long to go in games. He's then got the energy to beat players with his lovely step over and movement. Got his assist once again. That was from the corner. And, you know, he's brilliant towards the end of games, his experience. He's obviously not going to be able to play the full game anymore. And I think he's at an age where he can accept that. So I'm happy that we kept him and with the role that he's doing. So Richarlison, the main man, came off the bench and played a massive, massive part in the finale. First, he headed home very well from Perisic's corner. Some good movement to lose his marker. He was very much unmarked for that header. Sent it across into the other corner. And didn't go over the top and take his top off like he normally does. And then it gets ruled out for offside. He could have been frustrated with himself when he came off the bench initially because he did have a headed chance earlier that he sent over the bar, and that could have been the moment where he got his head down. And then he set up the goal, the winning goal for Kulusevski. And I think had he not have scored the header, we may not have seen him tee up Kulusevski. We might have seen him be a bit more selfish in that moment, but look, he did the right thing. It was a good little pass, and then Kulusevski did the rest. I will say with Richarlison, I'm pleased the fans got behind him. He's obviously going through a difficult time personally. It's hard for players to talk about these things because you get a lot of people comment going, they earn X amount a week and therefore they should be robots and blah, 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 blah. It's not the case. We know he's an emotional guy and he's finally come out and spoken. Hasn't gone into detail as to what it's about, but he has said that he wants to talk to someone to work on it. So, look, the fans got right behind him. The team were great at the end. If you've seen the video of Sonny pushing him to the front when they go over to the south stand to can celebrate with the fans, basically. They're all jumping about. It's something they haven't really done before. Normally they just, some players go and give the fans a clap on the way round, but they really, really celebrated with the fans. And it's just building a cohesion between us and them. It's making us feel part of it, I guess. But yeah, all the players were so happy for Richarlison, and hopefully this will be the turning point for him. Other substitutes, Emerson Royale came on late just to give some energy in the final minutes, and Højbjerg as well. He actually won the corner for the equaliser, and then he played a role in the winner as well with a key pass and showed his experience and his cool head that we needed in those final moments when it could have got really, really frantic. So yeah, all in all, pleased. It's winning in a different way that we haven't seen under Postecoglou yet, because we haven't had to dig it out that much. Left to the 12 minutes injury time to do it in. And the time we conceded the goal wasn't great, 73 minutes in, and it wasn't a very good goal to concede. I mean, the strike itself was a decent strike, but the build-up to it, sloppy defending, and it's an area of our game where we just need to cut things out. And it's evident when, as I said earlier in the stats, that our percentages on aerial duels are just not good enough at the moment. So, yeah. Now let's talk a bit about what Postecoglou said. And look, I love this guy in an interview. He's so honest. And even, who was it? Somebody on TalkSport Radio, I can't remember which presenter it was, but they're an Arsenal fan, and they said they were trying to find a reason to dislike Postecoglou, but they just can't. He comes across so honest and really good. So he was asked, how was that for an ending? He said, yeah, fair bit going on out there today. Great ending in terms of what we're trying to build. There's the football side of it, but there's also trying to build the spirit and character and resilience within the group, and they showed bags of it today. Hopefully it gives us the opportunity to fuel that further. Every time you have to deal with adversity and you overcome it, I think it helps in what you're trying to grow. And don't worry, I'm not going to go through everything he said. I'm just going to go for key points. He was asked about Richarlison's contribution, how important that was for him. He said, yeah, he was great. He said that he thought all the subs come on and really helped. And he did make a good point that he said a couple of times now. Richarlison's performances haven't actually been bad. He's been doing what he wants. It's just hasn't been scoring goals. That's the only thing that's been missing. But as long as the goals are going in from other areas, who cares? I don't. If Richarlison starts every game and doesn't score a single goal and we win every game, he's been part of that. So I'm not bothered. The numbers do not bother me. It's the performance on the pitch. And I think with strikers, we put too much pressure on them to be the goal scorers. But I've played in a front two before years ago. Obviously, I'm not a great footballer, but my role in the front two was just to provide runs for the other player, or sometimes it was just, he would knock down the ball to me and then I would play the through ball, also almost like a really advanced number 10. So it's not always about that. Sometimes you need someone that can hold it up and link the play. He was speaking about the situation with Richarlison and the mental health wise, and he basically said that he's not the right person to talk about that. There are people more qualified than him to do so. He was asked about the substitutions and asking if he made them a little bit later because he knew about the added time that was coming, and pretty much the answer was yes. He held on to it because he thought there'd be at least 10 minutes. He said that he was shocked that there was only 3 in the first half, which I was as well. It was a bit baffling, especially with all the time wasting. But yeah, he knew there was plenty of time to make those subs, and what substitutions they were at the time, the 3. It really added that extra dynamism, added some fresh legs in there, added some experience, and yeah, worked out. He was then asked about the connection between himself and the fans and the players and the fans, saying that it's developed really quickly and helped to heal the club from last season. How important is that what we're doing? And he said, yeah, it's crucial. I think you're right. The fans played their part today. It was a frustrating game. All the stoppages and dead time. He said at times we didn't deal with it well, talking to the referee unnecessarily in moments instead of getting on with the game. He said it would have been easy for the supporters to get frustrated. And things weren't going to the script today. We obviously went 1-0 down. But he said you can see him trying to play the kind of football that the fans want to see. And I think that helps. It does. When we see them playing that kind of football, we know they're trying in a positive way. So I think we get off their backs less. And I remember at times during that game when we're sitting there 1-0 down, I didn't get angry. I was frustrated a little bit. But at no point was I like, even though, it's Sheffield United and it's a team that we should be beating, I wasn't sitting there really angry, but I think had we been 1-0 down against them with Conte in charge, I would have been, because I would have known the reason we were 1-0 down is because we'd have been giving them all the possession and inviting them onto us. Whereas this time round, it was a little bit of sloppy defending in that particular moment, and we conceded a goal that was a decent finish. So, yeah, I wasn't overly bothered, and we've got to lose at some point, surely. Are we going to go the whole season undefeated? I mean, that would be great. But speaking of undefeated, Ange Postecoglou is now on an undefeated 50-game home league run that stretches back to his time at Yokohama. It's absolutely incredible. And he was saying that, it is. He said that there was a joke about it, about is that where your strength lies, being unbeaten at home. And it was like, look, I've got many, mate. I've got more than one. I've got more than one strength. It's funny you say that because I do put a big emphasis on that wherever I've been, because ultimately your supporters, as much as you enjoy the away wins because you've got to earn every one of them, it's when they come to their home ground that you really, really reward them. From that perspective, if you can create an atmosphere. And he was talking about the clubs that he's been at in Japan, 30 to 40,000 fans. Celtic a sellout every single game. And he said, it creates an atmosphere. And today, you can see it helped the team. So, yeah, that's massive, that home stretch. 50 league games unbeaten at home. It's brilliant. How important is for you to establish an identity in this team? He said it's everything. That's what I'm talking about. Me as a football manager is what I've always been about. You can track back my career as long as you want. My teams have always played in a certain way. And I think for every club that has appointed me, they've appointed me because that's what they're seeking. It's everything for me, the way we play. It's not just that I believe it's what gets you success. It does. That's what I believe, and it has in my career. But it also says a lot about you as a football club, when you play the game that way, because it requires a fair bit of bravery, a fair bit of courage, a real relentlessness when you play that way. And I think that has to sort of marry with the image of the football club. And ultimately, look, he's right. It does take a real bravery. There was a moment in the game, I think it was in the first half, Udogie played the ball into Van de Ven, and Van de Ven went to play it back to him, didn't put enough power on the ball, and then it was quite close to our area as well, and then Sheffield United were on the break in a dangerous position. We could have conceded from that, and at times we are going to, because we're trying something that we're not used to as a team. It's very different. And there are going to be times where we mess up from it and we will concede, but they've got to keep doing it to get used to it and become better at it. So you have to make the mistakes in the process. And eventually, once they nail it, we won't be conceding from that, because they'll be doing it without thinking, which is what Postecoglou keeps saying, that he wants to get to the stage where the players are just doing it rather than being told to do it. He wants it to be natural. Have you made changes in your training to account for the extra stoppage time in matches? It was like, not really. I think the motto is you just got to keep going until the whistle tells you to stop. And I don't want to read the rest of what he said because we don't need to, and that's absolutely right. You know, they've got the fitness levels to do it. You've got more substitutions you can make now, so there's no reason why they can't do it. And actually, when they say the games are going on for 112, 113 minutes, they're not. The games are going on for 90 minutes. That is the idea. You are meant to play 90 minutes of football. So when on like radio and in the studios and stuff, when they're saying, oh yeah, they're playing for X amount of minutes, they're not. They're playing for the amount of minutes they've always meant to have played, but haven't been because of all the time wasting. So, yeah, get out of that one. Did you watch any of the home games last season and atmosphere and have concerns because it got quite toxic at times? He said no, because it wasn't really relevant to me. I wanted to come in with an energy of no baggage or remnants of last year. There's no point having that as a reference for anything you do. Because he said different team, different players, different coaches, different looks. So yeah, it's completely unrelated. It doesn't matter. What do you make of Sheffield United and how much heart can they take from their performance? He said, absolutely, you saw how difficult they made it for us. I thought their keeper was outstanding. They defended their box really well, really brave and courageous, and were a threat up front with McBurney and Archer. They can cause teams problems. We knew that. For us, it's about maintaining our composure. We felt that if we got a goal ahead, we'd be able to find more space. But Paul has a clear idea, and they got a few injuries at the moment, and in all the games they've only lost by a single goal, and they've been competitive, and I'm sure they will be moving forward. So look, Ange speaks really well. He knows exactly what he's doing. I couldn't be happier at the moment. It's fantastic. The fans are really on board. They absolutely love him. They love the positive football. They like just everything at the moment. It's great, and it's nice to know that when we do come up against a team like them that is going to sit back and make it difficult for us defensively, we can still be confident that we're going to go till the final minute. And I think we saw this a lot under Pochettino. We won quite a lot of games late because we had the fitness level to break through. We had the energy. When the opposition are waning a little bit, our fitness levels are what killed the game off. And I know Conte was really big on the fitness side of things, but I think there was a difference. He overworked the players to the point where they were fit, but I think the Champions League didn't help either. The cup competitions don't help because there wasn't enough rotation under him. So despite the fitness levels of some of the players, you can't play 3 times a week and expect them to play every single game all the way through and make late subs. So yeah, really happy. Long may it continue. Like, what more can I say? So thanks for sticking around. I have been Kieran from Speaking Spurs. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, don't forget to support it with a like. Leave your comments below. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and help it grow and get to more Tottenham fans. So yeah, thanks for sticking around. Take care. And until next time, come on you Spurs.